WCLM with Chocolate Chip and Elbravador in the studio together for maybe one of the first times or a few times. How many times have we been together in the studio?
Well, just for a brief time, maybe a couple of times. But for something like this extensive, this is the very first time.
We're going to spotlight Michael Jackson and touch on a few of his records that most radio stations don't know about or won't touch. But this next record I'm going into about from Michael Jackson. Elbravador started in radio in about 1985 and was one of the pioneers of the hip-hop movement in Richmond. And this was one of the records I think you played when you were WKIE. This was 1987. This is one of his biggest records and one of his last of his, during that period when he was with Quincy Jones, he had Off the Wall, Thriller, and then he had the Bad album. What did he do after Bad with Quincy?
I think that pretty much was it.
Just pretty much.
I think that pretty much was it.
This was from 1987, Michael Jackson, Bad, from the fall of that year, as we spotlight the great one on WCLM. After the Jackson 5 hit a momentary slump after the release of Sugar Daddy in 71 and 72, they had a string of records that couldn't crack the top 10 on the Billboard charts. Little Bitty Pretty One, Looking Through the Windows, Corner of the Sky, Hallelujah Day. All of them were good records in their own right, but they couldn't crack the top 15 on the Hot 100 charts. So in 1973, they had a slight change of direction in their music, releasing a song called Get It Together. And from that Get It Together LP spawned a very electronic, funk-driven, I guess you could say just electronic funk-driven tune that they got from the Temptations, titled Hum Along and Dance. WCLM, as you can tell from this particular song, he was very proficient, either as a balladeer, or as an up-tempo man. Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 from 1973 from the LP titled Get It Together. A very electronic funk-driven tune that never was released as a 45, was a big hit in the clubs, especially in Richmond, Touch of Class, Infinity, and the like. And Elbravador, you were saying, what about this song?
Yeah, I talk over that on Old School, True School.
Okay.
When we're on, I
actually
actually...
use an instrumental track?
Yeah, use an instrumental track. The breakdancers used to use this up in the Bronx from the beginning days of hip-hop back in the early 70s with Kool Herc and them. Okay. That was one of the ones they used to breakdance off.
Back when the disco craze hit, they had a record called Forever Came Today that wasn't really big in the Richmond area, but this record was pretty big in the discos and the clubs in Richmond in 1975 from their last Motown release titled Moving Violation, Body Language on WCLM. Richmond's Heart and Soul, WCLM tribute to Michael Jackson. Released just a couple of months after Bad was released from the Bad LP. The Way You Make Me Feel was a big hit during the winter of 87 and 88. On WCLM, as Elbravador expounds a little bit on Michael Jackson.
Well, Daddy had that album. Yeah, Daddy kind of stepped into what we were doing for a minute. And
I didn't know he liked Michael Jackson.
Yeah, he had that album.
I was surprised when I found that out.
But he got into Michael Jackson after Michael Jackson was with Quincy Jones. Okay. And once Quincy took Quincy was really the reason for Michael's success from Off the Wall and Thriller, and then a little bit of Bad. And
I don't know whether it was because he incorporated that jazz element in Michael's music, or he put something in the.
Well, just like music. You told me, the orchestration of what Quincy Jones would do. Yeah. Then he had the Brothers Johnson in there too. They were still hot with their studio stuff because they were a studio band anyway.
He had Heat Waves, Raw Temper, the guy he sang for Heat Wave. Yeah. I think he wrote Rock With You and Off the Wall.
Yeah.
They were very instrumental in Michael's success.
Exactly. But all of those guys were in, Chip, as well as I do, they were in that realm of Quincy Jones Productions.
That's right.
They were there, and a lot of people are not talking about that. But one thing I'm getting sick of hearing, as I'm watching the news reports and everything, because we've lost a great brother like Michael Jackson, with all the problems he went through and everything with, the kids and everything like that. That's all it seems like 75% of what they're spotlighting on him is that, and they need to stop it because
a lot of people, the media is always going to focus.
The
on
press and all that. Come on, man, you wouldn't do that. You didn't do that with other people that passed away, and I'm not going to even call their names. But and also we like to send our prayers to Ryan O'Neal and $6 Million Man Lee Majors for Farrah Fawcett passing as well. But my point is, if you're going to celebrate his life, celebrate it right. And I think the coverage is for the most part, covering him, they've done a great job on every channel. But 75% of their report is about the negative legal battles that Michael had.
Well, that's why we're going to try to turn things around.
And we're going to turn it around.
Make this thing all positive about Michael. I think, now I'm trying to see, let me pull this out, because my memory is gone just that bad. I could put a record in and forget what I'm going to play next.
Well, I talk a long time too, I guess.
No, I should have remembered. Anyway, Michael Jackson was a big fan of Pooch and the Delphonics back when he was
really?
out. Yeah, he actually went on Ed Sullivan and said that the Delphonics and not the Temptations were his favorite group. Now, not that he really tried to emulate their sound because they had a falsetto lead and Michael's voice was not really falsetto, but one of the records that he did in honor of the Delphonics, or to show that they were his favorite group, came out on their first album, I Want You Back album. It was from 1969. They did a Delphonics cut, and the Delphonics cut, the Delphonics cut was never released as a 45, but it was one of their better cuts. I've got the Michael Jackson 5 version of the Delphonics big hit from late 1968. They did it in 1969. I've got that when I return on the STML. Then my next record, Brad, is a gem. It is a gem. It's a hidden gem, what I call a hidden gem, an undiscovered gem.
I know most of your gems, though,
okay,
so this must be one I don't know.
Okay, the group called Troop, that you know more about.
Yeah, I knew about them.
The 90s group.
I met them years ago, as a matter of fact.
How many guys was it?
It was 5, 6, it was 5 of them. It was 5.
In 1990?
Yes, 5. It was 5 because when I was with First Priority, they were on Atlantic. Okay. And we were at a party, for the label and stuff. Atlantic was their, major, that we were independent major. Right. And I met, those guys are real cool. And I know the song that you're speaking of.
They had a record in 1990.
Right.
All I do is think it was pretty. How big was it? Was it real?
It was pretty big. I didn't, honestly, with all due respect, I didn't like it because I liked the original so much.
Hold on, we could get to that. But I'm just
okay,
saying,
I'm sorry.
This is
you in charge, bro.
Okay, it came out in the summer of 1990. But it was released about April or May. It came out. I think it was number 47 Hot 100, but it was number one. Number one R&B record. So everybody in R&B circles knew about it, and they liked the record. Okay, everybody liked the record by Troop. Right. But what nobody seems to realize, and nobody seems to remember, they are not the original
recorder.
They're not. They didn't
Nope.
record this record. Troop did not record All I Do Is Think of You First. And who recorded first? The Jackson 5 recorded it in 1975 on their last Motown album titled Moving Violation, okay? Now, most people are not, they don't remember the song because it was not a record that received a substantial amount of airplay, or it didn't hit the charts. I think it reached number 50 when they finally decided to flip it over. It was actually a B-side of another record. But if you hear this song for the first time, this is the original version, and it happens to be, in my opinion, one of the best records that Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 ever recorded. And with
some of his best vocals.
With all apologies to Troop, Michael and them ate it up in 75. This is the original version of a Troop record done in 1990, done originally in 75 from the Jackson 5 on WCLM. See, we give you stuff you don't get nowhere else.
Nope.
And we did that. We hooked it up.